On this lesson on box plots, we will have a look at how to find the 5-number summary and how to plot the box plots and also answer relevant questions related to it. So the 5-number summary are these 5 main numbers that we know how to find already. It's the smallest value, your largest value in the data set, the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile. So in a previous lesson, we've already discussed how to find those values. If you want to find them from a calculator, then it's through the one variance stat. It actually gives you all the values, the 5-number summary. So you can try it with this example. We'll be using these sets of numbers throughout in a couple of slides. So you can enter them in L1 right now and do the one variance stat and get the 5-number summary. So the idea of box plots is how you split your data into the different quarters. So it's a nice representation, a different representation of your data, and we use it for some further analysis. You'll see with some questions. So we've talked about this before, just recalling what quartiles are. They split your data into quarters. So we know that if I have the lower quartile, which is Q1, I know 25% of my data lies here. And Q3, I know that 75% of my data lies here, which means 25% lies here. The median, which is typically Q2, it means 50% of the data lies here. So you're splitting your data into quarters. But the thing that confuses students is that they think that the size of this has to be equivalent, but it's not. A smaller size in the between each value, for instance, if we have a look at something like here, a small space here does not mean you have less values here between the Q1 and the median. The spaces between each of these 5-number summary values is always it always represents the same amount of numbers inside. So it's always 25% of the numbers here. It's just a bit more concentrated here. The numbers are a bit more closer. You have more of the numbers showing up here. So just to clear that confusion up. So, and then from the quartiles, as we've done before, you can find the interquartile range. The calculations, again, repeating the formulas to find the positions. You can use this formula. If you want the percentile, you can use this formula as well. We'll come back to this later when we do cumulative frequency. And we also have other methods of finding the quartiles by splitting the data up when we discussed for discrete listed data. So again, go back to the previous lessons to know how to find these quartiles. So again, another visualization of the box and whisker. So the full box and whisker gives you the range of your data, and the inner box gives you the interquartile range. And the whiskers start from Q1, they go all the way to the minimum, and then they start from Q3, they go all the way to the maximum. You also have to have a line to indicate the median. So this is the example from the starter. If I have those numbers, I'll reorder them first, and I want to find the median, and the median is 6. And then, as we've done before, you have to split your data. So without the 6, and I look at the middle of the lower part, which is 5, so that's my Q1. This is now my Q2, and then the middle of the upper section, that's Q3, and this is my minimum value, and this is my maximum value. So the box and whisker relies on you organizing your data on a scale. So the x-axis is an actual scale that you use, like you graph normally, but the height of the box and whisker does not matter. So there's no Y scale in here. So it's only the X scale we care about. And you can see minimum is at 2, the Q1 is at 5, Q2 is at 6, Q3 is at 9, and the upper value is at 13. So as I've discussed before, the space between each of the values does not have to be equal. It depends on the concentration of your data. So we can see, for example, it's quite a longer line from Q3 to the maximum, because as you can see from Q3 to the maximum, the numbers are more spread out. But if I look at Q1 to Q2, you can see that the numbers are more concentrated. So it's 5, 5, 5, 6, and 6. So it's more concentrated. So even though the area might seem smaller, it does not mean less values. There are still 25% of data concentrated here, and there's 25% concentrated here. So that's an important part of box and whisker that you need to understand in order to help you interpret what the box and whisker tells you. So then you can answer questions such as how many people scored between 5 and 6. Now, if you have the raw data, you directly can answer that. So that would be 5 people. However, without the data, just using the box and whisker, you know that between 5 and 6, this is between Q1 and Q2. So you know 25% of the data is here. Now, if I have 15 test scores, so I need 25% of those 15 test scores. So that's how you calculate the values for the box and whisker. So using the percentages, using the amounts, so again, we're assuming we don't know how many there are. So you take 25% of the 15 values here to give you 3.75. So approximately you have 4 values, you can say, or 4 people if we're answering the question directly. So 4 people scored between Q1 and Q2. Again, this is not the accurate answer. The accurate answer is 5 if I have the original data set. But if you don't and you only have the box and whisker, then it is an estimation in here because you ideally cannot split 15 into nicely 4 equal parts, 15 data sets into equal parts. So you end up having to, the numbers will be approximate in here. So another example of how you can answer questions. So this time we don't have the raw data, but you have these questions. So just pause, try this question out, and then we're going to do it together. So the median wind speed would be just taking Q2, which is here. So it would be 51 kilometers per hour. And then the minimum would be 9 kilometers per hour. Always make sure that you read the scale correctly. The interquartile range will be taking Q3 minus Q1. Our Q3 is 68, and our Q1 is 20. So we get 48 kilometers per hour. So that's the interquartile range. Now, this is where we rely, part D and E is where we rely on the box and whisker properties. So the number of days the wind speed was between 20 to 51. Now, they don't pick these numbers randomly. These are the numbers that are part of the 5-number summary. So between 20 to 51, this is exactly between Q1 and Q2. So you know that 25% of the data is here. So the data is the days. So you know 25% of the days is between Q1 and Q2. So 25% of 120 will give you 30 days. So directly say 30 days. And then it says write the number of days. The wind speed was between 9 and 68. Again, not random. 9 is the minimum value and 68 is the Q3 value. So from minimum to Q3, that's 75% of the data. So 2 ways you can answer this. Either actually find 75% of your data, or you know already that it's going to be basically 30 days, 120 minus 30 days. So 75% of the data or the days will be 90. So 90 days is the answer. Or you can think of, okay, if I need the data, how many days from here to here? I can find how many days is it from here to here, which is again still 25, which is 30 days. So what's left is just 120 minus 30, which is 90. Okay. Now, interpreting box and whisker, it helps when you also have another table next to it, or sometimes you have to match it with another graph, for example. So if your data is originally symmetrical, then the box and whisker will also be symmetrical. As you can see, the median will be concentrated there, the minimum and maximum, and you can tell the Q1 and Q3 will be evenly distributed. However, if your data is skewed, for example, if it's positively skewed, as we see in the yellow graph, then the box and whisker will also be skewed. So you can see that the median has shifted a bit to the left, and then you still have your minimum and maximum, but then this space from Q3 to the maximum is a bit, it seems like it's more spread out because the data is a bit more spread out, as the data is more concentrated on the lower end here. So a good exercise would be to match, for example, the frequency graphs with the box and whisker. So have a go at this problem. Now, we'll talk about outliers. We've mentioned them before, but now we're going to do it a bit more formally. So outliers are extreme values, either at the upper extreme or the lower extreme. And you might consider removing them from the sample, but not always. So they probably occur because of an error in the data collection or natural anomalies that might occur. So if you're taking heights of people and someone is just naturally very tall, so that would be a natural anomaly. But if you obviously pick a very wrong number for the height, like 2, then there's an error in the data collection. So how do we decide what is extreme? So there is one calculation, so that's not a random process. What we do is we find 1.5 times the interquartile range. And once you find this value, then a number is considered an outlier if it's 1.5 times IQR above the Q3 or below Q1. So it will make sense with some calculations. So the idea is this is your Q1, Q3, you find the interquartile range, and then you go 1 times 5 times the IQR, so you go a bit above, and you allow for these values to be okay as part of your data, but then anything above this and below this will be considered an outlier. So let's have a look at the example from the starter. So I have these numbers. I found my Q1 and Q3. I found the interquartile range as 4, and then I did my calculation, 1.5 times 4, which is 6. So this is the 1.5 times IQR, but now I want to see, okay, I'm at my 5, so it was a 5 here and 9. How much allowance is this number giving me? How many numbers am I allowing above and below the Q1 that would not be outliers? So what you do is you add it to the upper quartile, so the 6 that you found. You add it to the upper quartile, so it gives you 15. And you subtract it from the lower quartile, so it gives you -1. Which means that if I have a number that is strictly bigger than 15 or that is less than -1, it would be considered as an outlier. And if I have a look at my original data, I don't have any values that are above 15 and below -1, which means I don't have an outlier here. Let's change the data a bit. Let me add a few obvious outliers here. So I have a 20, I have a -6. And my Q1 and Q3 have changed now from 4.5, 9.5, and the interquartile range is now 5. So now the calculation would be 1.5 times 5, which will give me 7.5. Now I will add it to Q3, and I will subtract it from Q1. Always make sure that you do it correctly. So it's Q3 plus the value that you get, and it's Q1 minus the value that you get, even if this value is going to end up being negative. So Q3 added to that value will give you 17, and Q1 minus that value will give you -3. So 17, anything above 17 is an outlier, below -3 is an outlier, and as we can see, it's obvious that 20 and -6 are outliers. But when do we remove them? So We've talked about it a bit more, but let's look at examples to make it clear. So in scenario one, I have a height of 15 boys in centimeters, and you can obviously see without any calculation that this is an outlier, and it's not a normal number to have. So it's obviously an error in the data handling. So you would remove this 328. However, when we look at the test scores here, all of the test scores are a bit low. We have one outlier with a really high test score, but it's not an error. It is a normal number to show up. Like you wouldn't, if the number was above 100, then you would start to question. But 98 is a reasonable test score. It might just be that one student was really good at the test. So in this case, you would not consider removing the 89. But how do we deal with them? How do I make them a bit more obvious? So box plots, there's another version of a box plot that takes into consideration outliers. So if you have a look at this data, I want you to pause right now and practice on your own, finding the outliers of this, and then look at the video again so that we can discuss how to construct the box plot considering the outliers. So find the outliers first. So for this example, the Q1 is 6.5, the Q3 is 10. I also need to find the minimum, the median, the maximum, because I need to construct the box and whisker. So the interquartile range is 3.5. So what I'm going to do is take the 10, which is the upper quartile, plus 1.5 times 3.5, so I get 15.25. So any number above 15.25 is an outlier. Anything below 1.25 is an outlier. And as I look at my data, we have 16 is above the upper boundary, so it's an outlier, and 1 is below the lower boundary, so it is an outlier. In this case, if I want to construct the box and whisker, you will construct it to the last value that is not an outlier. So not an outlier. So although 1 was our minimum value, we now have to stop at 3. And then at a maximum, 16 was originally our maximum, but now we have to stop at 14 in here. So our box and whisker stops at 14 and starts at 3. And then the outliers are indicated by a cross. Okay, I know it looks like a star here, but the official IB guide says a cross. So you indicate it by a cross in there to show that they are outliers. And then, but then the median, the Q1 and the Q3 remain the same. Discussions about box and whisker, that's the next thing you need to see. So how to compare and talk about box and whiskers. You can pause, try this question, and then have a look at the answers. Look at as many comparisons as you can. Talk about, so the question says they wish to know which drug acts faster and which is more predictable. So have a look at this data and then have a look at the solutions. So this is the answer to it. You can pause and have a read. All right, after practicing some questions, I just want to get to how to use the GDC to graph all of these if you want to. So this shows you the exact same step. I'm using the numbers from the starter and then the other set, which had the outliers. So when we go to stat plot here, the box and whisker, you'll see one of them has 2 dots and one of them doesn't. This is the box that will identify the outliers for you, and it will graph the outliers as dots. In here, they will take all the data. They will not assume there are outliers. So you can use those two methods to check. So if you can see here, I plotted the normal box and whisker, and it gave me the data. But the ones with the outliers, it identified the -6 and 20 as outliers, so it graphed the box plot accordingly. If I had used the dotted version here, it would have not shown any dots because there are no outliers. So just to clarify that.